Two people are dead after a gunman opened fire at a Fort Smith apartment complex this morning. Police say 26-year-old Zachary Arnold killed 87-year-old Luis Hicks before a neighbor shot and killed him. No one else was hurt. And new tonight, eyewitnesses to the shooting give us more details about what happened this morning at the Three Corners Apartments. 5 News reporter Billy Devane has their accounts.
Neighbors say Arnold was walking around the apartment complex trying to persuade people to go out on their balconies or go outside. Neighbors say this morning was terrifying, many of them having to take cover from the line of fire. 87-year-old Lois Hicks lived next door to Arnold. Neighbors say during the commotion, she went outside to see why Arnold was yelling.
This yelling, screaming, come out here, you guys get out here, everyone out of this building right now.
Shortly after, neighbors say Arnold followed her back into her apartment where he shot her multiple times using a semi-automatic rifle.
There were two older women sandwiched in between the guy that was apparently shooting. Both had come out. I guess one of them ran back in and the other one had ran back into her apartment as well, but she didn't close her door, and I guess he walked in, did what he did.
Neighbors say anyone could have been a victim to this attack as Arnold was firing rapidly into a number of apartment buildings.
A coworker of mine, she was asking him, she went outside and said, hey, are you okay? Is everything okay? And then he started shooting over at her, but she ducked, went inside her apartment. He'd seen another guy on the opposite side of us come outside, and he just started shooting over there.
After hearing the gunshots, another neighbor pulled out his hunting rifle and fired one shot at Arnold, killing him before anyone else was hurt.
And I'm so thankful that that guy just took it upon himself to, get involved and stop this.
I mean, if he didn't do that, who knows how much worse it could have been.
We do not know why Arnold opened fire on the apartment complex, but police are hoping to find the answers to a number of unanswered questions.
That's really going to take a lot for all of us to get over. It's a shock.
In Fort Smith, covering news where you live, Billy Devane, 5 News.
All right, Bailey, thanks. Fort Smith police say their thoughts and prayers are with anyone who was affected by today's events.
Overnight, San Antonio police investigated a shooting. 2 people are dead, 2 others are in the hospital. This was outside of a home on Hazel Street over on the city's west side. Christina De Leon is working the story.
Yeah, an interesting case. Police tell us this all started with the driver hitting a parked car, and for some reason the driver got out of the car and started firing. This was just before 10 last night. Witnesses telling police the female driver of that car was heading westbound on Hazel when she hit a parked car. The owner of the vehicle, a man in his 50s, and 2 others came out to see what happened. That's when that driver got out of her vehicle and began to open fire, hitting all 3 of them, including the homeowner. Now, a neighbor came out to help after hearing the commotion and ended up shooting the driver of the car. A woman in her late 20s or early 30s. She died at the scene. Police talked to us last night about this wreck.
It was a significant crash. Like I said, enough that people came to the aid and just to check on the driver's well-being.
Now, the homeowners whose car was hit died at the hospital as well. The 2 others, a teenage boy and a female in her 50s, are still at the hospital recovering, at last check in critical condition. Police are still trying to figure out what escalated that driver to open fire. And again, police say this is still an active investigation. This morning, reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Christina De Leon. Alexis, we'll send it back to you.
Christina, thank you. And
Hannah Ali didn't open her shop at the mall Tabarak International Foods right away today after yesterday's shooting of 4 people took place right in front of it. The Iraqi native says watching the violence unfold around 3 o'clock brought back horrible memories.
Yeah, it reminds me of Desert Storm War. When I was there, it was awful, and it's like the sounds of shooting, it's really making you bring things back to you, and it's so terrifying.
Police say the 16-year-old who started the shooting is in custody after he was in a fight, pulled out a gun and fired several shots. Hannah says the man seen here in the jeans, gray sweatshirt, and hat was a shopper who heard the gunfire, had his own legally possessed gun, and intervened, shooting the 16-year-old.
A guy was standing in the front of our store, shot him, so he fell.
Hannah says she thinks that made all the difference because she's afraid the 16-year-old might have continued shooting if the armed bystander hadn't stopped the fight.
I think that helped a lot. He's a good person, I think. I mean, I don't know what he did before, but at that moment, he's the one should be like, he's a hero.
Well, developing tonight, we're learning much more about the history of a man who randomly opened fire on two men in Brownsburg.
Let's turn now to News 8's Travis Robinson. Travis, what have you learned about that suspect's mental health?
Well, they're saying mental health is the reason behind all this. They're saying that they wouldn't go into details on his mental health, but they've got enough evidence before talking to his parents to draw these conclusions.
22-year-old Joshua Christopher Hayes randomly shot at two men working in Brownsburg Cemetery. Hayes chased one of them, 36-year-old Seth Robertson, to a nearby intersection. That's where Hayes killed Robertson. Hayes then chased after the second man and shot a third who was stopped at a traffic light in the process. But victim number 3 was legally armed and shot and killed Hayes.
This tragic event could have been much more disastrous. So victim 3 not only saved victim 2's life, but he saved potentially the lives of many others. Victim 3 did exactly what anybody would have wanted him to do at that scene that day.
Even one homicide is an abnormality in Brownsburg, so this received a lot of attention online. Police say misinformed rumors spread quickly on social media about a second gunman on the loose. They say there were also numerous posts jumping to conclusions about the shooting being racially motivated.
I was being provided screenshots of social media posts prior to mine even arriving on the scene, so it played a huge role. A lot of misinformation was out there.
Police met with Hayes' family to find out the real reason he started shooting.
That is part of what led us to exactly understand that there was a mental health component that was behind that we were already seeing in the investigation. However, I think the biggest thing that Mr. Hayes' family has expressed is that, they want there to be a mental health awareness component to this. They're, of course, devastated, but they're also devastated for the other victim.
Now, Brownsburg police say they don't have evidence to believe that victim number 3 is going to be charged for stopping Hayes, but they say that's ultimately in the hands of the Hendricks County prosecutor. I'm Travis Robinson, Wish TV, wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook.
At about 2 o'clock this afternoon, the State Patrol was requested to respond to Superior to assist the Sheriff's Department with Nuckolls County and Superior Police Department with what they believe to be an active shooter situation at that time. When the first units got here, they found that there was one deceased victim on scene, another injured party. Ultimately, there ended up being 3 injured parties. The injured parties were transported to the Superior Hospital. One of those injured parties was determined to be the original suspect here at the Agrex elevator. He has since died at the hospital. He was identified as Max Hoskinson. Believed to be preliminary information. Preliminary information at this point is that he was a former employee here. Had been terminated, came back here a short time later, armed with a handgun. He shot 3 individuals here at the workplace, and then one of the employees here retrieved a shotgun and returned fire, which injured him and controlled the situation. There was no active threat to the community at this point. The scene was contained when the Sheriff's Office and the Police Department units got here. Our investigation will be ongoing throughout the evening here to piece together what happened.
Okay, so
South Austin neighborhood, a woman is dead. 2 men are hurt from a shooting in an alley. A witness with a concealed carry license saw a man shoot at those victims. That witness then shot at the man who opened fire. He is now in serious condition, but police did place him into custody. Finally,
I choose not to be a victim, and I just didn't want him to kill innocent people.
New for you tonight, being called a hero in plain clothes, a Decatur native stops a potential mass shooting in Texas. Good evening. This all unfolded Monday when the Decatur native confronted a gunman at the nation's largest retailer. He talked to WAND's Chris Carter about the actions he took and why he says he'd do it again. This is a WAND News exclusive.
I'm just a regular guy.
Every person has a story, even the regular guy.
My name is John Allen.
Guys like John Allen.
And I graduated from Stephen Decatur High School in 1981. I was born and raised in Decatur.
The latest chapter in the Decatur native story is one being written about around the nation.
I was pulling into the Walmart in Weslaco, Texas, and I observed a young man in his mid to late 20s carrying in an AK-47.
While most would retreat from something like that and call 911, not knowing what the man's intentions were, Allen, an Army veteran, was not about to watch the story of innocent bystanders end while shopping. He jumped into action.
You know, we have open carry in Texas.
He placed his .45 automatic in his holster and made his way towards that gunman with a message for him.
You're not going to shoot anyone in this store today. I'm not going to let that happen.
Standing with a store security guard, Allen held the man at gunpoint, eventually convincing him to put down his AK-47.
He was totally surprised. Got him to put the AK-47 down. He was very upset because I had destroyed his plans.
I know you're trying to help, man. Can you please back up just a little bit more?
As police took control of the situation, Allen backed away, reflecting on what just happened.
I was a scared man trying to do the right thing to make certain that nobody got hurt.
He had no idea what was about to come.
Mercedes resident John Allen.
His actions, his story would quickly take over the internet, and despite the recognition, he doesn't consider himself a hero.
You have to put the greater good ahead of your own personal interest.
Instead, Allen believes he did what more people should do.
I choose not to be a victim, and I just didn't want him to kill innocent people.
So everyone can live to write the next chapter of their lives, and maybe even giving the regular guy a little bit more recognition.
It's time that we start protecting one another and treating each other with some love and decency and respect.
Now, the man who Allen confronted did have another gun on him. Police in Texas says that man pulled that gun on officers. Officers returned fire, killing the man. Allen has been interviewed by the Texas Rangers, and the shooting is under investigation. Live in the studio tonight, Chris Carter, WAND News.
We're going to start with a pair of violent attacks on religious gatherings over the weekend that have shaken other communities of faith across the nation. 2 people were shot and killed at a Sunday morning church service near Fort Worth, Texas, only 14 hours after an intruder stabbed 5 people at a Hanukkah celebration north of New York City.
A live stream video captured yesterday's shooting at the West Freeway Church of Christ in White Settlement, Texas. An armed parishioner quickly shot and killed the attacker. The man who responded is credited for saving many lives. Maria Villarreal is at the church about 10 miles west of Fort Worth. Maria, what do we know at this hour?
Well, you know, right now, the investigators are praising the heroic action of parishioners who helped stop this gunman. In fact, several people actually jumped up when the shots rang out, pulled out their guns to try and protect the congregation. We did speak with one woman who was sitting with her family just a few feet away from this gunman with her 7-year-old daughter. And she says almost immediately when this guy walked in, she got a bad vibe.
It was like a matter of seconds.
That's how long it took to turn a peaceful Sunday service into a room filled with chaos and fear. Cameras inside this sanctuary capture the moment the gunman pulled a shotgun from his pants, shooting 2 male parishioners in the corner of the church. Some people ran to escape the danger while others hid under pews. Isabel Arreola and her family noticed the man sitting toward the back of the church.
I don't feel comfortable. I said he just, is giving me a bad vibe.
She was within feet of the gunman when he started shooting.
I tell my husband, let's go, give me my baby. And I just said, I got to get her out of here.
The gunman was killed by a parishioner who's part of a volunteer security team. Several more members drew their guns as well. There were more than 240 people inside at the time.
This team responded quickly, and within 6 seconds, the shooting was over.
Church members identified the two men who were killed as Richard White and Tony Wallace.
We lost two great men today, but it could have been a lot worse.
This has been Arreola's church for more than 15 years, and she says she has no plans to stay away.
We have to pray that we can get back. I have to, thank God that I'm alive.
The FBI is working with local and state law enforcement. Right now, they are not releasing the name of the suspect, and they are still working on the motive. But we do know that he has ties to this community and he has a criminal past. The congregation is planning to meet tonight to finish the Sunday service that was interrupted yesterday. Adriana?
Mireya, thank you. So important to be together right now.